What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for another review of The Real Housewives of the OC, Season 16, Episode 8, Sweat Lies and Pornography. So, we're starting off where we left off in the previous episode, which is still the dinner that they're having in Cabo. And the only thing that I really want to talk about in this scene is Noella. Noella is a lot. When she signed up for this show, she came to make a name for herself. She came to be heard. She definitely came to be seen. And she tries to take over any scene that she's in. And it's just a lot. And she does it with no class, with no she's not interesting. That's what I'm trying to say. She's not even interesting enough to really just to naturally take over the scene or to be the star of the show. She's you could see the desperation in her of her trying to get camera time, trying to have everybody's attention on her. It's just so obvious and it's getting boring because you know what she's trying to do and it's just not that interesting and she's just not a good fit for the show. I think the OC does better with an older cast. I really wasn't that crazy when Gina showed up. However many seasons ago it was, 1, 2, 3 seasons ago, I don't remember. I really wasn't that crazy when Gina showed up. I didn't think Gina really fit in. I don't think you have to be a multi-millionaire to be on the OC, but you got to have a little bit of coin. And I don't want to watch a Real Housewives franchise and see people living paycheck to paycheck, struggling like the average Joe, just trying to make ends meet. That's not why I watch the Housewives franchise. I watch it for its opulence, for its wealth, to see how people are living in a way that, I'm not really that privy to. I don't want to see regular schmegular people just trying to pay bills like Gina, sometimes kind of like Emily, like Noella, her money's gone because her husband then took off with it. I'm just like, what are these people doing on these shows? Why can't they find, really rich? Like, I love any scene with Heather and her humongous houses and her looking for even bigger houses. That's what I enjoy watching. That's what I love to see. I don't want to see regular schmegular people living their day to day life. I might as well just, look at myself or look at my friends. Why would I want to watch a show that's just about average people living average lives? That's not why I watch The Real Housewives. Anyways, so at this particular dinner, Noella tries to steal the scene again. She was trying to have a conversation with Shannon and Emily and Gina. They started making these meditation noises. I don't know why they were doing that. Everybody was probably drunk at this point. So Noella gets offended by that. So she gets up and she moves away from MJ to go sit on the other side of Shannon. And when she did that, she called them childish. She said that they were acting childish. So they get offended. They get up and they act like they're leaving, but they're not going to leave because, they don't want to be away from the cameras. So they act like they're leaving, but then they come back and then Gina has to have a conversation with Noella about how she's just doing too much or something to that effect. I really don't remember because it really wasn't that interesting. So the next day, Noella and MJ, okay, so this is when they all do their activities. So Noella and MJ go to a sweat lodge. Heather, Dr. Jen, and Shannon go look at property because Heather wants to buy a vacation home in Cabo. So Heather is looking at the first home that she looked at was a 26,000 square foot, $13 million home. And it was humongous. And Shannon in her confessional kept on saying how, if this house was given to her for free, sure, she'd live in it. But, those days of wanting bigger, better, more opulent homes, is just, those days are behind her now. She says, I'm too old to be walking up and down 4 flights of stairs. The property is humongous. It's too much, I guess, for her knees and her hips and whatever else. But I bet you if her man could afford a home like that, Shannon would definitely sign up for it. So then the next piece of property they look at is just the land itself, because it's if they wanted to build a home on it, it's just the land itself, and it's like on a cliff where you can oversee the ocean, and it's where some body of water meets the Pacific Ocean. or I think the Pacific Ocean. So it was at point zero, and there's two lighthouses that they'd be able to view if they built there, and the property alone is $8 million, and then of course they're going to build a multi-million-dollar home on top of that. So she calls her husband. Heather calls her husband Terry. She shows him the land and whatever, and he's like, okay, so, and I think it was $500 for every square foot, and they wanted like 13,000 square feet. I don't remember how many square feet they wanted, but it all came out to the land plus the home was going to be 15.5 million. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. So back to the sweat lodge. So Amgen and Noella, they meet with like a spiritual healer. That seems to be the theme this season for these reality TV shows. So they go to like a spiritual healer, and they have to go into a sweat lodge, and the spiritual healer says something like it was like going back into your mother's womb. So they go into the sweat lodge. It's like a hut, and I don't know how hot it is, but it's extremely hot. So they go into the sweat lodge, and the three women, we don't see them, but we hear them. They're experiencing some type of all three of them are experiencing some type of like an deep emotional breakthrough of their past and their emotions and their history and whatever has caused them pain. So during this moment, Noella, of course, the clout chaser, the one who's trying to steal the scene, she acts like she's about to faint. Maybe she really was fainting because she rarely eats and she drinks a lot. So maybe she was about to faint with the heat and the humidity and the sweat and all of that. Maybe she did faint. So there was some type of like a situation where she threw up, I think, and she blacked out for a minute, and then the doctor had to come in, like the doctor from, I think it was from the actual show, the medic that's on hand. They had to come in and pick her up and lay her down somewhere. And I thought that she was going to have to go back to the resort or the villa that they were staying in. So I thought she was really like affected. She was really going through some kind of medical situation. But in like a couple of minutes, she's joining Emily and Gina at the picnic table, and she's like ready to go on with the trip, with the vacation. Like nothing happened. So I was like, oh my gosh, she must have been doing that for attention. That's my personal opinion, that she did all that just for personal attention, just to get attention. So after they do the whole hut thing, they go to the beach. The three women go to the beach, and as they're on the beach, they're drinking some more because, the show will try to find any opportunity to get these women plastered. So they're drinking some more on the beach, and they are talking about, I think Noella brought up, or somebody brought up the whole issue. I think it was Noella that brought up about how was she going to get back home because she didn't fly with them on the private jet. I don't really remember what the conversation was about, but it has something to do with how Noella is going to be getting back home. And I don't know if they were trying to tell her that the jet that they flew in, Heather's private jet, if it didn't have enough room, or if they're going to get a smaller jet or a bigger jet. I didn't really get that conversation. But at some point, Emily opens up her big mouth, and Emily thought that she was trying to make Gina look good, because I don't know why she felt that way. I don't know if Noella was kind of like dogging Gina, and so Emily felt like she had to step in. I don't remember how that went down, but Emily says something about, well, Gina tried so hard to get you to come on this trip. She tried so hard to convince Heather to invite you on this trip. So Noella was like, okay, I get it now. So this is just a pity invite. She really wasn't extending an olive branch to me to try to make amends with me. She just, y'all just felt sorry for me, and that's why I'm here, because someone had to beg Heather to invite me. And I'm thinking, even if you thought that this was Heather's way of extending the olive branch, you sure as hell didn't treat her like that at dinner. You haven't treated her like that at all since you've arrived. You have shown no appreciation, nothing. You haven't tried to smooth things out with her or have a conversation with her to try to, make amends or whatever. You haven't done any of that. So even if you thought that Heather was trying to extend the olive branch and invited you out of the kindness of her heart or because she just really wanted your company, you don't appear like you appreciate any of this. So I don't know why she was upset when she found out that it was like a pity trip. So they got upset about, Gina got upset about that, Emily opening up her her big mouth, and they were trying to talk to her on how to deal with Heather. Like, you really need to tone it back a little bit. You're doing a little bit too much right now. And in Noella's confessional, she's like, what is the big deal? Why are people so afraid of Heather? That's probably the only thing that I will agree with Noella, is Heather is just like everybody else. Okay, so she's got a couple of more dollars than everybody else, but she's not God. She's not your boss. She's not your mother. So why do people feel like they have to tiptoe around her and just can't really, speak their mind around her? Dr. Jen. So Dr. Jen, she's been having some leg issues. She's got some type of a leg situation where I guess her leg either aches or cramps up, and she has to do some type of physical activity to ease the pain. So she's on the elliptical in the gym, and she's calling her husband, Ryan, and she's telling her husband about what she's going through with her leg. And it seems like her husband really wasn't that interested. He didn't show enough sympathy for her. So she got really emotional about that. And, she's trying to hold back the tears. And I'm like, girl, really? You know what kind of man you marry. This is what once again, these people marry these young bucks, these young men, because they're eye candy, because he's young and his body is right, and you just want something good looking next to you. But then you are so flabbergasted when they don't act like grown, mature men. If you wanted a man who was sympathetic and understanding and caring, then you should have picked a man that was like his his best qualities. Don't pick someone because you think that they should be on the cover of GQ, and then you wonder why he has no soul and he has no heart. So let's move on. Dinner. Okay, so all the women are gathering around for dinner. One of the things, that's like my biggest pet peeve about these reality TV shows, is that whenever they come together, whenever they greet each other, when everybody arrives, they all have to do the whole fake, oh my God, your outfit's so cute. Oh my God, that is so cute. Oh my God, that is so pretty. I hate those moments when they're giving each other all those fake compliments. I'll get over it. So dinner, I thought they were going to sit down at the dinner table and start eating dinner, because it was Shannon and Noella who showed up first, and they sat at the bar and they were drinking. And then Heather showed up and everybody else showed up. So I thought we were going to ease on down to the dinner table and start eating. But no, they have to, the producers found another way to, pump more alcohol into them. So they have a tequila tasting. So after the tequila tasting, then they sit down for dinner. Okay, so they're sitting down at dinner, and the first topic of conversation is they were talking about Noella passing out in the sweat lodge. So they're all talking about that. Well, how long were you passed out? Or maybe. And then Dr. Jen said in her confessional that she probably passed out because she was drinking so much the night before. MJ decided to get up, and they go to the bathroom together. For some reason, they have to go together. And then Heather and Dr. Jen, they're having their own little side conversation about Dr. Jen's marriage. So Dr. Jen, I guess, is telling Heather how she called her husband Ryan, and he acted like he really didn't care about her leg hurting, and just about the issues in her marriage. And Heather tries to give her some advice because Heather herself is married to a doctor. And so she said that she told Dr. Jen that with her and Terry, when she realized that they were having cracks in their marriage, she had to have like a come to Jesus moment with Dr. Terry. And she told her husband, you're not failing, but this partnership is. So I guess, he had to try to find a balance between family and work. And I think that's the issue that Dr. Jen is having. I think her husband is sort of resentful that she's always working. And Dr. Jen is like, but I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. And that's how it always is. People want to marry other people who make a lot of money, and then they get mad when the other person is constantly working to make all this money to keep you happy, because that's why you married them. So, she's trying to find some balance between all of that. So Heather's giving her all of this advice, and it seems like Dr. Jen was taking it to heart. So then Shannon and Noella, they talk about Jen leaving the table the night before, because Shannon wanted to know exactly what went down. And I think Noella was explaining to her how she thought they were acting childish or something like that. And they got offended, and so they acted like they were going to leave the table. So then when Emily and Gina return, Shannon brings it up. She's like, I just want to go over what happened the night before when you two left the table. And Noella was like, no, Shannon, no, Shannon, we're not going to talk about that. And so Shannon was like, well, I was just trying to help you, but it seems like I'm hurting you. Shannon, why didn't you bring this up the night before? If you thought it was such a big deal that you have to have a conversation about it, why didn't you bring it up the night before? It's a full 24 hours later. Nobody cares. They've all moved on. So then Shannon leaves. I don't know if she was offended or she really had to go use the bathroom, but then she gets up and she leaves. So then Noella tells MJ, don't worry about it. We're good. So, Heather mutters under her breath. She's like, literally this evening? Like, are you serious? And then Noella turns to Heather and says, don't tell me what to do. And Heather says, okay, I won't. So then Noella says, I have no interest. And then Gina says, well, Emily wants to know. No, Emily wanted to know, okay, because she saw that interaction between Noella and Heather. So she's like, wait a minute. What was said? What did you say, Heather? And, Noella says, I'm feeling provoked. I didn't know what she meant by that. Once again, she's trying to be a scene stealer, all the attention on her. Provoked by what? Because Heather was muttering under her breath. You felt provoked. The woman who invited you on this very expensive trip, you felt provoked. Okay. So then Gina says, no, not Gina. Emily says, no. You can't have her feeling provoked. I don't know what was going on with Emily. She was like lost in the sauce, didn't understand what was going on. Nobody was provoking anybody, Emily. So Noella says that, I found out that I was a pity invite. And both Gina and Heather both say, no, you weren't. And then Heather says, I didn't want to invite you because you gave pornography to my daughter. And then Noella was like, what? And so then Heather explains about that LGBTQ friendly game that she had given to her daughter. And Noella was just really, really on the defense. So she was like, what are you talking about? It wasn't pornography. I bought that on Amazon. And so all the women are telling Noella, just apologize. Just acknowledge that the mother of the kid found it offensive. Just acknowledge that and just apologize and let's move on. Let's get on with our lives. And so then Dr. Jen said, and I guess Gina said this too because she wanted credit for saying this. Dr. Jen had said, well, maybe you didn't know what was in the game because earlier, Heather had already told Gina what was in the game, the explicit stuff that was written on the cards of the game. She had already told Dr. Jen. I think she even told Shannon. So everybody had an idea on what was on these cards except for Noella. I'm assuming Noella didn't know. So, even when Shannon came back and she got caught up with what was going on, even she was telling Noella, just apologize. So, Noella is still extremely defensive. And, she tells Heather, how dare I not know that your straight fragility would be offended? And Heather was like, what? My straight fragility? She goes, first of all, sweetheart, I have a couple of gay children and you cannot tell me anything about straight fragility. And Noella comes back with, I'm a bisexual, biracial, liberal living in Orange County and don't you dare call me inappropriate. And Heather says, I'm not calling you inappropriate. I'm saying that your gift was inappropriate. So Heather pulls out her phone because she had taken pictures of these cards and what was said on them. So she pulls out her phone and she starts reading all of the explicit I don't know what directions that were on these cards. I mean, and it was really bad. And when Noella finally heard what was on the cards, she was even shocked because I guess she had no idea. And she was like, oh my God, I had no idea that is what was written on the card. Now I totally understand why you were offended. So they're still conversating, Heather and Noella. And so Heather was just trying to explain herself more. And Noella was being really rude and interrupting her and saying, are you done? Are we done yet? Is this done? Is this over? And then finally Heather was like, you know what? Whatever. We're done. Noella is a lot. And I find it hard to believe that she didn't know. Oh, maybe she didn't. I'm thinking because the game, the description, there must have been like an age thing, first of all, on the game. When she was looking it up on Amazon, there had to have been like some type of a suggested age age range, like 18 and up, 21 and up. It had to have been something like that. And I'm pretty sure somewhere on that website, it talked about what these cards were really about. I find it hard to believe that she didn't know. I think she knew, but whatever. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she's that dumb and she didn't bother to read anything. She just saw, ooh, LGBTQ board game. This is going to be wonderful for Heather's kid, and just bought it. Maybe that's what it is. But Noella's a scene stealer. She loves the attention. She's trying to make a name of herself, but I think she's going about it all the wrong way. You can be interesting. You can be a scene stealer. You can be all of that without making it look like that's exactly what you're trying to do. So, yeah, that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far, I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.